Hello, good evening, and welcome to Friday PM podcasty thing, as I've taken to calling these things actually. So first of all, thanks very much for those who will join us. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, wherever you're watching this anyway, you're very welcome. Hello, Jed. I see you've won the prize yet again for most enthusiastic person to be here. Chris, also nice to see you back from your sojourn up in the Lake District, I understand. So, and good to see the For Britain movement. Now, we're hoping to have Anne-Marie Waters join us. So I hope that she will appear to join the discussion this evening very shortly. And as we wait for Anne-Marie, just to say, by the way, hi Simon, Ozzy, and all of you folks, that there are really two topics I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about what happened in France yesterday, as in the Jihad attack in the Basilica down in Nice. And then I want to talk more generally about what's happening in France, and then I want to talk about how that relates to what's happening in the UK. And it's all around the existential threat that we appear to face. And then the other thing that I want to tackle is I'm sure you're aware of the fact that it looks more and more like there's going to be a second, certainly from a UK point of view, there's going to be a second lockdown. So I wonder what you think of that. Are you looking forward to being locked down just in time for Christmas? In fact, will you be locked down over Christmas? I suggest that those things are entirely possible if we look at the news. And also, by the way, did you see that for the first time, Labour have gone, I think it's 4 points in the polls ahead of the Conservatives? Good job, Boris. Whenever you make the utterly incompetent Labour Party look good, that I'm not sure what that says, but it's not good, that's for sure. So what do you think of that? What do you think about, do you think it's possible that actually, because of the way Boris has handled this whole business, there is a chance that Labour could get back into power? I mean, I thought we were going to be absolutely rid of them. So let me just hang on, folks. I'm just trying to work out a little technical issue here we have. So I'm sure we can sort this out. So just bear with me. And thanks to the wonders of tech, we should hopefully get this one sorted out. So just stick with me, folks, and we'll get there. So yeah, so what do you reckon then? Do you reckon we're going to have Prime Minister Stormer? Do you reckon that's a possibility? Christine says, no more lockdown for me. I'm still having Christmas. Well, you're dead right, Christine. One of my lines is that it's not the turkey that needs to get stuffed this Christmas. It's the sage scientists. I don't think we don't need no lockdown. We need freedom. We need to actually be able to get on with living our lives. But actually, Simon says here, we have national lockdown by stealth. And you're right, Simon. I mean, here in Northern Ireland, we're still, I think, halfway through a 4-week lockdown. Wales is under the jackboot of the Welsh Labour government. Goodness knows what's happening in Scotland. Feel sorry for my Scottish friends. And then there's parts of the UK as well, which seem to be in tier 3, and apparently there's a tier 4 being planned. So let me see. I'm just again trying to work this one out. So folks, bear with me. I just got a technical issue. So connect with YouTube or Facebook, right? So sorry, folks, on this one here. I'm being distracted by other things. Yeah, so what do you reckon then? Do you think that we can look forward to a Christmas with all the family, or are we going to have to leave Granny and Grandpa stuck at home because it's just too too dangerous to go out. Actually, Chris says my friend Alison here who's a really lovely lady. She's been on the stream with me. So right, okay. Don't understand what's happening here. Right. This is an annoyance here. I'm sorry. Technical issue here, folks. Let's be open with you, shall we? The technical issue. We're trying to get Anne-Marie on, but okay, right. I'm back. Just like that, I'm back. Can you just let me know if you can see me? Because the connectivity problems I have, friends, I can't begin to tell you how much they have. How much I'm gonna actually. I may. What I may have to do with this stream actually, because it's just gone so badly wrong, is if you are. I think if you can all see me, then that's okay. I'll continue. But I'm trying to get Anne-Marie onto the stream, and the wonderful world of the system is stopping her from getting on. I blame probably the Russians, more than likely the Chinese, and if all else fails, it's securocrats. Have you looked? Can you see me? If you, Jed says he's lost me, which is really depressing because everyone else says that he can see me. Anyway, cheers. I've got Limeade in front of me, so if you're going to stick with me, then hopefully I'm going to be here. Other than that, I'm going to give up and abandon the evening. Right. I need you to know. I need you to tell me if you can see this, folks, because otherwise I'm going to get. Okay, folks, this is not going to work. There's a problem at the Anne-Marie end. I don't know what's caused it. It's not of my making. So I'm going to have to just carry on. Sorry about that one. I'm sorry that we can't have Anne-Marie on, but as long as you folks are here, right, I'm going to go through this one. So let me see if, first of all, this is what I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to talk about it. I wanted to talk about what happened in Nice. And as you know, yesterday, yes, down in the very nice town of Nice in the Côte d'Azur, there was a jihad attack. And as this report says, you can all see it, flowers and candles have been placed outside the church in the southern French city of Nice, where 3 people were stabbed to death. President Emmanuel Macron called the stabbings an Islamist terrorist attack. The mayor of Nice called the stabbings an Islamist terrorist attack. The BBC weren't sure. I think they were holding out hopes that it may have been a white supremacist, but hey, didn't work out that way because the culprit was a 21-year-old Tunisian who'd arrived in Nice apparently on Thursday, or sort of Thursday morning, whatever. And carried then the attack out yesterday morning. The interesting thing is that if you read on here, look at this. The French Interior Minister said more militant attacks were likely. He adds that security is going to be stepped up in places of worship across France. Blah, 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 blah. Right, just scanning. I want to go through, because, you know, when we talk about these terrorist attacks, they're very human. It's real individuals who lose their life. And I wanted to go through this with you and share this because I find this very moving. And let's just take a minute and think about this. The 2 women and the man who were attacked and murdered inside the basilica happened just before the first mass of the day. 2 people died inside the church. Hang on, folks. We may yet get Anne-Marie on. Hang on. Just bear with me. Bear with me, folks. This is what you call on the hop on the cop video casting. Hang on. Right. This is what I wanted to read you. 2 people died inside the church. One of them, a 60-year-old woman who hasn't yet been named, apparently, was, quote, virtually beheaded close to the font in the basilica. The second person who died was a 55-year-old man who apparently worked at the basilica for more than a decade. He had his throat slit and died. And the third victim, and I thought this was so sad, was a lady called Brazilian Simone Barita Silva, 44-year-old mother of 3. She lived in France for 30 years. And this is the bit that got me. She fled to a nearby cafe with multiple stab wounds, but died shortly afterwards. Tell my children that I love them. She told those who, sorry, I'm just scribbling with the stream here. That's what she told people, her final words. So isn't that heartbreakingly sad? Isn't it just, like you see these numbers, 3 people died, whatever number died, but each one is a human story. Can you imagine what the family of the lady who had her head cut off, can you imagine how they must have felt? Can you imagine how the gentleman who apparently looked after or helped look after the basilica, how his family felt? And as for the mother, as for the 3 kids whose mother died and her final words were, tell my kids I love them. Well, that's just heartbreaking, isn't it? I just find it absolutely distressing that this is actually what was going on in the French city of Nice yesterday morning. This is reality, folks. This is what you can't hide from. I'm afraid that trying to sort of wishful thinking and whatnot won't stop things like this from happening. So that's that's the reality of what I believe is the jihad. But it's not just like this has been the first attack in Nice, is it? Because we only we can remember. Let me actually, I think Anne-Marie should be joining us. So brace yourself. I think Anne-Marie is hopefully en route. So as Anne-Marie joins, I'm going to have another drink, and we shall welcome her hopefully to the parish here very, very quickly. Very shortly. But we know that other things have happened in Nice, and I want to talk to Anne-Marie about that. And we know that, in fact, there was a beheading in France earlier this month. And we're going to talk about that as well. So France is France seems to be at war, but there's been something happened in the UK today, which I need to talk to you about, which relates to this. Let me see. Okay, here's another code. Let me see if this one, again, trying to get Anne-Marie in here. So just doing it now, folks. And so this is all about codes and signing in, which you wouldn't believe the amount of hassle it takes. But yeah, that was what was happening in the French city of Nice yesterday morning. People having their heads cut off and their throats slit. And it's terrible when we read about these things. And I think any human being, when you read about something like this happening, and then you start to understand it. Well, that was a family, that was a mother, that was a grandmother, that was a father, that was a brother. That's the oh, hang on, I think we have with one fell swoop, boom, she's on the stream. Question is, can she hear me? So we need to make sure that Anne-Marie can hear me, and then we're okay. So that's let me just check if she can hear me. Evidently not. Don't know why. But you can see Anne-Marie, and hopefully shortly you'll be able to hear Anne-Marie. But at this point in time, I don't know why we cannot hear her, because we can see her. Perhaps Anne-Marie can check just her volume settings to make sure that everything is as it should be, because there's no blocking at this end. So yeah, as you can tell, this is running really smoothly. Gosh, I love it when it works just as well as this. So I don't know why you can see her, you can't hear her just yet. But anyway, you'll be able to hear her very shortly. Hopefully we'll get this one sorted out, a step 2 of the process. Maybe actually if Anne-Marie was to log in again, that might possibly fix the issue. So I'm not sure if she can hear me or not, but yeah, so look, I mean, this is the horror that happened in France, and it's the horror that's going to keep happening until such times as we actually get to grips with it. And it's actually something that Anne-Marie has talked about a lot, and that's why I thought it was so timely to be able to talk to her tonight. But until we get her volume, let me see if I can do something here. Remove her. And then bring her.
You can't hear
And then
me.
she's back to the stream. Hello, Anne-Marie. Speak. Speak, Anne-Marie. Because we heard
I can
you.
see your mouth moving, David. I'm afraid I can't hear you.
Right. And I can hear you, but you can't hear me. Let me see. Can you hear me now? Hello, Anne-Marie. Can you hear me? This nightmare. This is an absolute nightmare.
Can you hear me now?
Is
Yes.
shocking. Across to the BBC,
Well,
it is the headline. Deadly stabbing in Nice terror attack is the headline.
We can hear you twice, Anne-Marie.
I can hear me now as well.
Yeah, so actually, we couldn't hear you at all. And now we can hear you
Said
3
there
times.
had been a terrorist attack at the heart of the Notre Dame Basilica. One elderly victim. This is in contrast to some reports
Playing Anne-Marie and you can
have been beheaded. Spoke of Islamofascism. The suspect who was taken away, who is currently in hospital, has repeated Allahu Akbar several times. 2 further attacks took place on Thursday morning. One in France and one in Saudi Arabia.
The thing about this is,
One was shot dead.
I like to do things live. And when you do things live, sometimes stuff goes wrong. And what's happening is, it has to be something in your system, Anne-Marie.
It's me, David. That's what it is. The internet hates
Stop.
me, and I hate it.
That's okay. Hey, listen, it stopped. It
It's
stopped.
simple as that.
We've just got you on your own now. There's no other voice.
Okay, good.
We've just got you. Right,
How are
Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, welcome to the stream. It's
Thanks.
gone so smoothly.
Finally.
Hey, listen, Anne-Marie. First of all, look, these things happen in live streams. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't faze me in the least. So I have no idea what that was all about. But
It
folks,
was asking me to log in via YouTube, which I don't normally get when I click on a link for this, and it wouldn't let me log in via YouTube. So
Yeah.
anyway.
well, anyway, listen, Anne-Marie. There's loads of
My
people.
arch enemy. Yeah.
There's loads of people want to hear you, and I'm very pleased. It's been a while since we were talking. Actually, it's been so long, Anne-Marie, since we spoke. That was back in my Twitter days when we spoke.
All that time ago, David.
All that time ago, yeah.
How are you managing without it? How are you getting on?
Before I joined you in exile. But then I take it, Anne-Marie, all the best people aren't on Twitter. So,
Quite.
But hey, listen. So what? It's really good to have you, because I'll tell you what I'm so keen to talk to you. We've had the things that happened in France, in Nice, yesterday, and I was just going through. I don't know if you were able to hear what I was going through, but just setting the thing up. We had the slaughter in the Basilica down in Nice, and it's not the first Jihad act in France, and I suspect it's not going to be the last. There's been others, and so. And this is a broad issue, so let's take a little bit of time and hear from you, because it's a topic I know that you've spoken so much about. It's one of those things when you do speak out about it, you get demonized. But those were bodies lying on the floor in the basilica. Those were human lives taken in ways, Anne-Marie, that I can't even imagine. How would you slit the throat of a 60-year-old lady? How could people do that? But they do. So for me, so here's the first question. So we saw the killings. We know that the killer came from Tunisian via Lampedusa, via Paris down to Nice, apparently. And that wasn't the first one, because we had the French teacher decapitated earlier in the month. What's going on in France, and what are we going to have to do to stop this from reoccurring, Anne-Marie?
What's going on in France is a complete clash of, none of this is new. This has been going on in France for a long time. Notoriously, the cartoon thing started, of course, with Charlie Hebdo back in 2015. Yep. That same thing that was happening then is happening now. There is an insistence by Islam and Muslim representatives of Islam that the world must obey Sharia laws. That is what this is. Now, just before I came on, I was reading about worldwide protests against France. Yeah. And there are massive crowds I can see in several countries. We're not talking about 100 people. We're talking about tens of thousands. Yeah. That's what it looks like. Yep. Burning effigies of Emmanuel Macron. They think they are the victim here. And the reason they think they're the victim is because our freedom is an affront to their religion. And we're going to have to learn that. And I've been telling you this, and I and others have been telling the world this for a long time now. And we're still demonized. We're still vilified, no matter how much blood is spilled. Exactly as we described it, we are still called liars. We are still demonized as Islamophobes. Well, I'm a proud Islamophobe, David, and I am prouder to be an Islamophobe every atrocity that takes place. France is a secular free speech country. It cannot have a large population inside it that is not only against secularism, but kills it is so against it and feels completely justified in it. Now, I don't know where Emmanuel Macron got his spine from. He seems to have found one somewhere. Yep. I suspect strongly it's because Marine Le Pen is on the horizon again, and he's trying to steal her thunder. And I do hope that the French don't make the same stupid mistake again that they made last time and elect that person over Marine Le Pen. They need Marine Le Pen now. They need someone to stand up and say no. And then they need someone who will back that up with action. Macron is saying all the right things. Will he do the right thing? I doubt it. None of them are going to do the right thing. You've got Priti Patel talking on Twitter about how appalling this is. I asked her on Twitter, how many Muslims came in through Dover today, Home Secretary? When are you going to get this? These are people who are coming here from countries where there is no free speech, where it is completely normal and acceptable to kill in the name of Islam. They're coming here. What do we expect to happen? What do we expect? Do we expect them to leave their values and their beliefs that they've been raised in from birth, just leave them behind? And when they come to free democratic countries, they're just going to adapt? They're not. We've had years of this now. They're not going to adapt. They're not going to accept our freedoms, either in our countries or on a global scale. And those protests are absolutely sickening. Anyone would think it was France beheading Muslims. The way I think it happened.
Just on that, Anne-Marie, I don't know if you saw this. Let me see if I can just share this with you. But just to the very point that you're making there, did you see that here we go. Just bring this up on the screen. So to your point, yes, there are protests against what happened in London outside the French embassy as anti-Macron fury reaches London, Anne-Marie. The police clash. Well, I'm not sure they clashed that much, but anyway, there was Muslims crowds demanding respect for the Prophet outside here in the heart of the UK. And you know, the thing about that I find amazing is, where was the social distancing, Anne-Marie? Were they all wearing masks? I mean, come on, this could become really dangerous. But look, your point's right. The people get slaughtered in a French basilica, and the people who are certainly some of those whose religious affiliate carried out the killing, paint themselves as victim. And I think it was the New York Times or whatever, within a couple of hours, they were running a story saying, I don't know if you saw it, it was something along the lines of, well, this is terrible, but could this result in a backlash against Muslim people? So, I mean, what do you make of it? The reaction's as much of a problem as the actual, in a way, the actual terror attack, isn't it?
I mean, David, am I wrong to say that 0 European leaders have stood up to back Macron's comments? Am I wrong?
You're right.
Many of them have. What are we? Who are we? They're beheading people. And we are not, and Macron finally stands up and says something worth saying, and it's silence, tumbleweed from the rest of Europe. For once, can we not show a collective spine and stand up to this savagery? That it takes like you said, it takes a certain kind of savagery, David, to do this. This is not, this is not common or garden violence. This is truly savagery, and it is Islam motivated savagery. And we would, where is our leadership? Where are the leaders? Why aren't they standing up and saying, this is absolutely fundamentally unacceptable? This is Europe. If you want to be in Europe, you respect our traditions, our culture. You do not get to come here and kill us and then bully us into submission and make us the aggressor. This is no one's saying anything, not a word. And you're right, the New York Times, I didn't read the article because I wouldn't put myself through it, but I know the article that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the BBC, well, you can guess what the BBC, it's Islamophobia was trending on Twitter within the hour of the Nice atrocity. Islamophobia was the issue, and it was trending. Of course it was. It's sickening. We need a complete wipeout of these politicians. I am so tired of this. I am so tired of this Orwellian nonsense. I'm so tired of Pakistan telling France to respect religious freedom. Give me a break. How did we get here? Well, how are we living in this crazy world where the people who are being beheaded are named the aggressors? And then I had to laugh at this. There's a picture on the BBC article on this about the worldwide protests, and there's this photograph of all these vicious looking bearded men looking furious and throwing projectiles. Underneath it says France is being accused of expressing anti-Islamic sentiment. So look at you. How can you expect anything but anti-Islamic sentiment when that's how you behave? Unbelievable. Literally
talking of things that are unbelievable, back in our former home of Twitter, this tweet appeared. I just wanted to put this one up on the screen, Anne-Marie. Ask your opinion of this.
I saw that. Oh, yeah.
This lovely gentleman, who's a former Prime Minister of Malaysia, did point out in a series of tweets that, in his words, quote, Muslims have a right to be angry and to kill millions of French people for the massacres of the past. He seems a reasonable kind of guy, doesn't he? I mean, where do people get the notion that Islam could be portrayed as being a tad violent? What did you make of that, Anne-Marie?
I saw that yesterday, and the first thought that comes to mind, as it probably does for you, David, is, well, they kicked me off. I'm the problem. Here's this guy saying it's fine to not just kill a few French people, but millions of French people. He's advocating mass slaughter of people in France. And there he is, blue tick and everything. Whereas you and I are public enemy number one. The more, you go around in this circle time and time and time again. Every atrocity we go around in the same circle. Nothing but language, if even that, from leaders, no action. No real response, no defense. This is why I'm impressed with Macron. I mean, I don't like him, of course I don't, but I'm impressed with him saying we will defend our cartoons. I think it was a very strong thing to say. It wasn't. It was clear. It was clear, and he has defended, sort of defended his comments since.
Yeah.
We go around in this circle every time, and nothing seems to change, and it won't change. And this is what we must get across to people: it won't change until we change who is sitting in the seats of our parliaments across Europe. They won't change. We have to change them. We have to get rid of them and replace them. They are not. They did this. So there's no way they're going to fix it. They have to go, and they have to be replaced with people who will do something. And France is the obvious. The obvious choice is more of the same with Macron, or actually something. Just give her a chance to do something. We have to. This is what has to happen, or else it's over. It's over. If we keep electing these people, we're done. It's over.
Well, I mean, it seems to be that, to me, Anne-Marie, I don't know what you think, but it doesn't matter the grotesqueness of the act of terrorism. It does keep, as you say, it's a circle that keeps recurring. I just wanted to put this up to let viewers see this, just so you can see this, folks. You'll all remember this, so this is nothing sort of overly sort of striking about this, other than we remember what, just putting it up here. Yeah, 2016, Anne-Marie, not that long ago, not that many years ago. And I remember, I'm sure you remember this as well vividly, back in Bastille Day 2016, when, 86 people lost their lives at the hands of an absolute lunatic who drove a large cargo truck, taking all those human lives. And I know someone whose mother witnessed what happened, and that, believe you me, that was beyond words of what happened then. That was 2016. Nice. 2020, Nice. This time cutting the heads off people in Basilica. As you said, the circle just keeps going round and round. And I mean, I'm sick of people responding with thoughts and prayers. Oh, I'm going to change my fake Facebook status to Je suis Samuel or Je suis Charlie Hebdo. It doesn't cut it, does it? It's not going to work.
Sticking a French flag on your Twitter account, it does not help anything. I must say, relatively, there's been the left have not been quite as shouty about Islamophobia this time. I feel a little bit different to you. It's almost as if they've been put in their place a little bit by this. I'm not hearing as many shouts about Islamophobia as usual. I mean, Twitter, of course. But from the usual suspects on the left, they're a little bit quieter.
They're quiet.
Do you agree, or do you think I'm...
I think there's a quietness.
Yeah.
And certainly in France, I think the French people, like as you said, like Macron, I think we both see him the same way, Anne-Marie, but he has shown, at least superficially, a degree of fortitude. But it's going to have to be more than that. I mean, I did a stream earlier today with some friends from outside the UK, and they were sort of, they were looking at it from looking into the UK, because we do have we've had the same problems here. You know, Manchester Arena, London Bridge. You could name all the jihad attacks. Mm-hmm. So we're not that much different to the French. The French, maybe because they have an even larger population, maybe it's a bigger problem. But it's gonna. I mean, the UK is the same, isn't it? Really, there's not, apart from scale, and even then we've had our horror stories here as well. So what does the British government need to do then? Because it's quite happy to allow the protests outside the French embassy, attacking the French for standing up for liberty and human life. So what about this British government? Do they boot them out?
But the whole Western world is pathetic on this, with the exception of Trump's America. But look, you're right. The UK isn't very different from France, but they have the same things in Sweden. They have the same in Denmark. They've had the same in Germany. They have the same in Italy. They have it in Spain. They have it in the United States. They have it in Canada. They have it in Australia. There's a common denominator here. And that common denominator is Islam. And that is what it does. And this is, I say this all the time. This is Islam. This is what it does. This is in its scripture. It is in its DNA. It is what it does. It demands obedience to the Sharia everywhere it goes. And if it doesn't get it, it reacts with violence. The only thing we can do, if you want to keep those problems out of your country, you have to keep Islam out of your country. And as much as lefty heads are going to explode in order to keep Islam out of your country, I'm sorry, David, but you have to keep Muslims out of your country. And it doesn't mean that every Muslim is a bad person. No one's saying that. But how do we know who's who? And why are we under any obligation to have Muslims coming here in the first place? People talk as if it's inevitable that there should be massive loads of immigration from Pakistan into Europe. Why? Why? Why are these people coming here in the first place? Why are we allowing these people to come here in the first place? No consideration was given back in the day when mass immigration started in the 50s, 60s. No consideration was given as to whether the cultural and religious values of the people coming here would be compatible with ours. None. And it continued and continued and continued. And now we have this. We have killings. We have rapes. We have grotesque cultural practices that are so widespread the police couldn't do anything about it, even if they wanted to. This is Islam. This is what happens. And the only way you can stop it from happening in your country is to not have Islam in your country. I'm sorry. I know how harsh that sounds. That's it. That's the harsh reality. That's the world we live in. We have got to stop the immigration now, and we have to start deporting people who will not integrate into our society. I don't care about the bleeding hearts. I don't care about the press. They can call us whatever they like. I'm talking about saving our society and our culture and our heritage. And if it means getting called a few mean names by lefty journalists, so be it. We need action. People need to be removed from our countries and sent home. And then on the global scale, if the United Nations wants to side with these savages, we withdraw from the United Nations, but not until we've told them what we think of them. We have got to stop pandering to this open border ideals, these open border ideologies, globalist nonsense that has brought this horror to our doorsteps. Enough. Well,
Anne-Marie, there's a couple of things there just to look at. One of the things is that you mentioned open borders, and in this case, the jihadi who carried out these atrocities yesterday, he came across, he entered European Union illegally, but he got in, he got through Italy, and he got into France. So do you think that as part of a sensible, a more robust approach to dealing with the problem, one of the things we absolutely need to do is seal the European borders so that at least we have what we have within, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about the problem, the indigenous issue that you've raised. But surely we have to stop this continual streaming of more. In this case, it's overt. It wasn't jihadi. There's no ifs and buts about this one. He came in for one reason, and he came in to kill, and he did. If there was, how did the Italians let him? I read, and you may have read some of it just seemed like gross incompetence and just casually not that interested, boot them out of Italy, they go to France, someone else's problem. And I think the French have the same attitude, actually, get them across the channel, it's not our problem. So borders are important, aren't they?
Oh, very much so. I mean, our very society, our very way of life, our very safety depends on, looking at this, how many attacks have there been over the last few years? I've lost count. Germany, France, here, wherever. And how many of them were refugees and asylum seekers? And even, I remember, after one of the bombings in Germany, I can't remember which one, actually it might have been Cologne, and they were coming out with, well, the borders are going to stay open, regardless. The European Union were telling us this. They are telling the people of Europe, we don't give a damn whether you live or die. Our project for an open global open world is going ahead, whether you live or die, whether you are safe or not. We couldn't care less. And we seem to be, as people, and they're blatant about it. They don't hide it. So as people, we're sitting here and letting this happen. Ultimately, if we keep voting for these people, ultimately it's down to us. And we do keep voting for these people. And even though they're telling us to our faces that they will continue to do it, even if it risks our lives, we still go out and vote for them. I mean, what is wrong with it's the self-hatred, David. Ultimately, what it comes down to is self-hatred. There's no desire, there's no fire in the belly of Europeans to save ourselves. None. And that's from decades of being taught in school how awful we are, that we've been responsible for all sorts of horrors around the world throughout history, never done anything right. Most of us are white, of course, and we know how dreadful white people are. This is drummed into us relentlessly, and it's not by accident. That is to make us weak, to make us not defend ourselves, to make us so self-hating that we will sit there and watch our politicians tell us, we don't care if you're murdered, our plans are still going ahead, and then we still go and vote for them. We can't, at some point, we're going to have to take responsibility. The people are going to have to take responsibility and fight back against these treacherous, they may as well pull the trigger themselves half the time, these politicians. We have got to stop voting for these people. Stop it. And stop it now, because it's not too late, but one day it will be.
Well, one of the things that strikes me, Anne-Marie, as being strange is I've spoken to people who have come to this country from other countries, who have integrated, accepted our ways, our cultures, respecting our laws. And the thing that they say to me, and I'm sure you've heard this as well, they've said to me, David, what we don't understand is we've kind of tried to escape the culture that we came from. And we've come to the UK and we found it worse. It's actually worse in the UK because we thought you had this great British civilization. And what we're discovering is that actually it's like where we've come from, but on steroids. And you can feel sympathy for them, can't you? Because they've come to embrace what you and I think the people on the stream and those who will watch this want, which is kind of pluralist, liberal with a small L, democracy. But you don't get that with Sharia. You don't get that in ghettoized communities, do you? There's big areas of this country, Anne-Marie, the towns and cities as well as me, where, it is more like Pakistan than the UK. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. And it's our politicians' fault. Because when they came here, they were told that the doctrine of multiculturalism was adopted, and they were told, don't integrate. And that is, again, an insult to our culture. This is, we don't have a culture for you to integrate into. Keep your culture. Look how exotic and wonderful you are. You stay that way. Don't become like us. We're boring. We don't have a real culture. You have an exotic, lovely, colourful culture. Hold on to it. And yes, you may butcher little girls' genitals, but that's diversity. We did that. Our politicians did that. And there have been key moments where we've absolutely failed. And long before the latest round of atrocities began, if we go back to Salman Rushdie and the riots in the streets under Margaret Thatcher, that was a key moment as well, because they were demanding obedience to the Sharia then, and they weren't told where to go in the way they should have been. There was no robust defense of free speech at that time either. That was a key moment. They knew that the bullying would work. And since then, the ramping up of self-hatred has just exploded. The self-hatred just gets greater and greater and greater. The appeasement gets greater and greater. And what do? When you bow down to a bully, do you think that bully says, okay, do you know what? This isn't fair. I'll back off a bit. Yeah. You bow down to a bully and they will push you down further. And the more you bow down, the more they stamp on you. This is how bullies work and operate. And Islam is the world's greatest, most vicious, violent bully. And this again demonstrates it. They are, French people are beheaded and Muslims are out protesting the poor us. Isn't it awful? This is bullying. This is an absolute massive global bully. And we are so devoid of leadership in the West that we are allowing this bully to push us around.
Well, I think the other thing is, I'm not sure if we agree on this, but there are, in my opinion, moderate Muslim people. I spoke to one today in this country, a very, very nice gentleman, and he's horrified about what's happening here. And what he said to me, let me ask you what he said to me. He said, David, what I don't understand is that if you are a politician, an MP in a particular area, and let's say a Conservative MP, let's say ignore Labour for the time being. If you're a Conservative MP, but you're reliant on a small voter base, voter bank of Muslims to keep you in Parliament. Does that mean that then you will ignore the interests of 90% of your constituents so that the 10% of constituents will keep you in Parliament? How can this be? And I said to him, well, that's just the way it is. Would you agree with me, Anne-Marie? And why is that the way it is? Will these MPs sacrifice the young girls and other people in their constituency?
Yeah, they will. They do. They have. I don't think it's just about the voter percentage, David. The toxic poison of the media is a huge part of this. We've got a combination of things. We've got a massive bully in Islam. We've got pathetic politicians who haven't got a principle between them. And then we have a media which will destroy that politician. Even if they did find a morsel of courage to speak out, the media would absolutely destroy them. And they don't have the guts to stand up to the media, a la Donald Trump, the only major politician who stands up to the media. And look where it's got him. He won. And he's going to win again. And, why? I wonder to myself sometimes, do they not think, maybe if I had a principle, I might even win more votes than the little groups of, the scrapping down, I'm appealing to this minority and that minority. Maybe if I had a principle and actually stood for something, I might even gain a few votes. But they are so, the whole thing is so, it's the party machine as well, David, you know that. Courageous people can't get through the party machine. They can't get selected for parliamentary seats. The whole thing is weak and supine and bows down to the media. And the media is, as so often, at the heart of all this. What is wrong with this? It portrays criticism of beheadings as prejudice and racism and exclusion. And we mustn't exclude people who behead because, it's diverse. Some people like to behead, some people don't. Who are we to judge? This is the kind of stuff we get from the media. And it's, again, today, and again, just by flicking through. I noticed yesterday, by the way, I went on to Sky News, and there wasn't a mention of Nice on their homepage. Not a mention. No. Yesterday. No. They may have had it on their television broadcast. I don't watch it. But flicking through the website, mention it was the headline on BBC, the headline on ITV, nothing on Sky. This is what we're dealing with. This is a huge problem. This is why the MPs are one of the reasons the MPs are so weak. The party system and the career politician is another. And the fact that just...
But if you take Anne-Marie to a slightly even deeper level, and again, I guess, we'll agree on this one. Freedom can be taken away from you very, very quickly. It's just almost in the blink of an eye. And you only have to look at what happened in Iran. If you go back to, and the story is, but even back in 76, 77, 78, Iran was still a relatively pluralist. Women had freedom. They didn't have to cover up. Iran was a pretty modern society. And then the Ayatollah came to power. It became the world's first Islamic republic. And that was snuffed out in a very, very, very short time. And actually, very few Western countries said a thing. So, could that happen here? My question is, do you think that could happen here also? Could we similarly fall in the way that Iran fall? And is it because of the same craven politicians and apathetic voters?
It wouldn't be as easy for us to fall. Iran was more ripe for it, if you like, because if you have a relatively secular but nominally Muslim society, it's very easy to shove that into Sharia very quickly. More difficult with it because we're not a nominally Muslim society. No. So, but can we fall to this? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And, if people think this is an absurd, I actually heard it called a conspiracy theory. A conspiracy theory that, that there's demands for Sharia. This is the press again. Demands for Sharia, the far right and their conspiracy theories that Muslims want Sharia. Are you kidding? It's not a conspiracy. There's been beheadings in the name of Sharia. That's not a conspiracy theory. But could we fall? Absolutely, we could. I don't think it would happen overnight, but it's happening very gradually. It's already happening gradually. I mean, we already have in many respects a Sharia state, because Muslims are above the law in the UK. We know this. They're allowed to do whatever they like. But you criticize them, and you're more likely to get into legal trouble in this country, I think, for insulting Islam than for carrying out acts of rape, for example, in the name of Islam. We're already gradually turning into this Sharia society, and this weakness in the face of what has happened in France, zero from Boris Johnson, zero.
Yeah, well, he's too busy working with
but that's not enough. Someone's going to come back to me, but he tweeted, and sorry, a tweet is not enough from the British Prime Minister in the face of this atrocity in France. It's yes, it could happen. In answer to your question, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, because one of the things, Anne-Marie, is that, you know, here in the UK, when you've got areas in our major towns and cities, and let's talk about this now, because you mentioned it earlier, which are heavily ghettoized, largely Muslim. I mean, you and I are both aware of Savile Town, which I think is that up Leeds?
Dewsbury. It's an area of Dewsbury, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I remember watching Katie Hopkins do a little documentary thing there, and I think it's about 95% Muslim. So, in what way is that a recognizably British area?
It's not. It's not. The name. I mean, the name hasn't been changed yet.
Yeah.
That's something that's happened this year. You know, the changing of names and the desire by the Labour Party. And, you know, just briefly to go back to Iran, we know who helped the mullahs to power in Iran were the communists. And then, of course, the mullahs turned around and slaughtered the communists. But this is what the left does. And that's what the left is doing here as well. It is helping, aiding and abetting Islam into positions of superiority and seniority. It's not a British place, David, at all. I remember saying this. I remember when this was featured in a Daily Mail article, and the photograph that they featured was the very, very British, what are they called? Ice cream truck going around, and the person in the back of the ice cream truck handing out the ice creams full burqa. That there you go. I mean, that's just what a brilliant picture to summarize the whole thing. It's not a British area. We are going to see more and more of it. There will be a fracturing. They're already essentially governed by Sharia law anyway, and this again happens in Germany, France, and elsewhere. Little Sharia courts governing Muslims. They refuse to live by our laws. They will break away, demand autonomy, and get it. And then you have the breakup of England.
Well, I mean, so given that we have this issue here in the UK, never mind France, and we have these large groups, these significant groups of people who haven't integrated and give no impression of any desire to integrate. In fact, the opposite, they want us to adapt to them. What do we do with them? What do we do? How do we solve the problem? What is the practical solution?
Okay, well, I think for people who are not British citizens, they should be deported. If we know that they are advocating or campaigning for Sharia, they should be deported. And it's, for many people that will sound draconian. I'm genuinely past caring about what it sounds like. My concern is this country and saving its heritage and its people and keeping them safe from this and their liberties safe from this monstrosity. So many have to be deported. So I think the question that you're asking me is, what do we do with the British citizens? What do we do with British born? Well, first of all, we change the public space. We change the public space and make it unapologetically British. We apply the law, the British law, to everyone, including Muslims. There will be no exemptions to face cover. You're not going to, if we're not allowed to wear it, it's the old adage, isn't it? If you can't wear a crash helmet into the bank, you can't wear a burqa either. Ban the burqa, ban Sharia courts, shut them down. They have no legal right to be an operation at all. What they do is completely unlawful. Shut them down. Prosecute for honor violence, FGM, all these other disgusting things associated with this, with hefty life sentences. 20 years minimum. I've advocated 20 years minimum for anyone involved in a grooming gang if they are British. Deportation, even if they are just reasonably suspected. I'm not asking that they go through a trial and be found guilty, because that's too difficult to do. Even if reasonably suspected of being involved in a grooming gang and they're not British, they should be deported. The British people we can't deport. Hefty prison sentences. Let us make the public space unapologetically British. Get rid of the Muslim schools. Put the Muslim kids in with British kids. Teach them British culture. If people want to alienate themselves and live personally under some personal Sharia, that's not my business. But the public space, the education system, policing, the judiciary will come down hard on this and be unapologetically British. That's what we need to do with the ones we can't deport.
Because what as was pointed out to me, Anne-Marie, recently, the way things are constructed, we're actually putting a great burden on young Muslim people. So young Muslim kids, they'll go, some of them, they go to our schools, they go to British schools. And when they're there, they're taught about, well, such as it is, I've got issues with the curriculum.
Right. We need
but they get a sense of this is a modern European country. But then they go home and they're off to the madrasa, and that's when they're in the full gear, and they're taught. And then we're allowing people to fly in from all over the world. Some of these hate preachers, real hate preachers, and they fill these young people's minds with views that are 100% different to that which they've heard in schools. So the kids are completely screwed up because they're getting different conflicting views. That surely has to stop as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we shouldn't be having these imams coming in at all. And if they are inciting violence, now inciting violence and hate speech are two different things, as we know. Hate speech is nonsense. Hate speech is just the left wanting to stop their opponents having a voice. We know this. But inciting violence has been a criminal offence since the 1800s. This is nothing new. Most societies have a criminal offence of inciting violence. Now, if you are standing, and we know, you must remember Undercover Mosque. These documentaries, which were made by Channel 4 of all people, going back, they filmed undercover what was being taught in mosques and what was being preached in mosques. And actually, if you pick up a copy of the Quran, and this is a point that Geert Wilders made all those years ago, that if you are going to have hate speech laws, the Quran has to be banned under them. But even under inciting violence laws, the Quran and preaching from the Quran can be found guilty. You are guilty if they stand in mosques and encourage violence against women, against Jews, against non-Muslims, against Hindus, whoever. If it crosses over into encouraging violence, arrest them, jail them. It won't continue. You get tough. Show the bully that it's not happening any longer. This is over now. Your days of bullying us and pushing us around are over. And you do that in a variety of different ways, but enforcing the law and incitement to violence is one of them. If we did that, if we began to make steps, everything would change. Everything would change. It would the dynamic would completely change. We would be the powerful ones again. Rather than the ones on our knees begging for forgiveness for being non-Muslims. Forgive us for not bowing down soon enough. Please don't hurt us. Please don't hurt us. Enough. Turn this around. Get tough, and the whole dynamic changes.
I mean, did you see the case, Anne-Marie, of a church in some part of London? I can't remember which part. Did you see where this guy climbs up and tears down the cross on the front of the church? I think it was a Methodist church, but anyway, you saw that. And what was the response of the vicar, the minister, whoever, the cleric in charge of it? He expressed he hoped that the guy who pulled the cross down would be okay. The spinelessness goes right through us, doesn't it? Our society,
the entire establishment. But the church has got a lot to answer for in this as well, David. It really does. And it's been suggested to me that one of the reasons that the churches are so afraid to speak out is insurance costs. They're afraid of the churches being attacked and the insurance policy premiums going up. I mean, that actually rings true to me. It's not the first time I've heard that. That is pathetic. That is throwing away our society, where the church has a lot to answer for in all of this. And you know, to allow Islamic sermons to be preached inside some of the great cathedrals of this country, and they are not preaching what's unity and interfaith. They take the opportunity to degrade and diminish Christianity inside Christian cathedrals. They've done it several times and invited. One that sticks out to my mind is Gloucester. Some imam was invited to give a talk, to preach at a Gloucester cathedral, and in it he specifically chose a part of the Quran that denied the divinity of Jesus. In other words, he took the opportunity inside a Christian church to degrade Christians, and you can just bet they were all sitting there thinking, how wonderful this is. Look how diverse. We're sitting in our own church being told our own religion is having our own religion ridiculed, and look, isn't it lovely and diverse?
Yeah, one of the viewers, Chris Davis, who's a regular on the stream, Anne-Marie asks you the question. He says, can you ask Anne-Marie about lovely Humza Yousaf, the Scottish SNP minister for, is he for justice or for, I'm not sure what he's for.
Justice,
for
of all things, justice.
So what do you make of, I mean, I think he's basically trying to push in, heresy laws in Scotland. What do you make of him, Anne-Marie?
Oh, I think you can guess. I think there's something almost demented about him. I mean, you must have seen this speech he gave about complaining how everyone is white. Well, Scotland is 96% white. Yeah. So if you are and the venom with which he spits out the word white time and time again, if you are so upset at being surrounded by white people, don't let us keep you here. Get out. He's a little bit. There is something of I think it was Anne Whitaker who said something of the night about him. There's something odd about it. He's like demented. Yes, he is absolutely going to install Sharia law in Scotland. He's not going to call it that, but that's what it is. And he even wants to get rid of the get out clause of discussion inside a private home, which presently can't be prosecuted, but he wants to get rid of that. He also wants to control art. He's talking about theatre, and even arresting theatre directors, arresting actors, prosecuting actors if the play is deemed to be stirring up whatever he decides it stirs up. So any the entire our arts, our private conversations at home, he wants control over all of it. And of course, it's all going to be about hate. What it really is the and at the time when people are being beheaded in France, this is where Scotland is going.
Yeah, no, it is.
Islam.
It's very, very shocking. He regularly had a go at me on Twitter. He's a particularly unpleasant personality. Yeah. And as you say, Anne-Marie, the way he spat the word white out. Yeah. I know people like you and me are often accused of, racism, and we're not racist. There's not a racist vote in you or in me. But the people who accuse us of these things, in my view, they are the racists. They're projecting their racism onto you and onto me. And I can't speak for Humza Yousaf, but his obsession about the word white, it struck me as very, very unhealthy. But anyway, Anne-Marie, we need to move it on a little bit because time. I don't want to detain you all night. But I didn't want to finish without. I mean, you can't really get through any discussion anywhere without something about COVID-19. And I just wondered what you reckon. What do you reckon the chances of a UK-wide, certainly an English tier 3 or maybe a tier 4 lockdown? Do you think that is an inevitability now based on the hysteria coming from the media? And how do you feel about that?
Oh, the media. Do you know, David, in front of me, just on a little tab up here, is a headline from the BBC. And it says, let me grab it up there, COVID spreading faster in England than worst case scenario. So they're telling us that we are currently, it's even worse than the worst case scenario. Now, this is when you have weak leaders who bow down to the press and who answer to the press. Then this is Boris Johnson will quiver like jelly with headlines like that. What am I going to do? I can't have a headline like that. And and yes, we are going into another lockdown. I've no doubt, absolutely no doubt. It seems to me that there is a determination to destroy this country, and from our leaders. And it seems to me that their view is the sooner the better. And the sooner we can bring it completely to its knees, the happier our leaders will be. And we have seen, this is unforgivable because the first lockdown, we didn't know. There's at least some wiggle room for sympathy there because we didn't know what we were dealing with. Now we know. We know the damage the lockdown has done, and we know the damage another lockdown will do. And then to do it anyway is not recklessness. It's deliberate destruction, particularly of the economy, but not just the economy. I mean, we've got people whose social lives have disappeared. They may have, a club or society they go to once a week, and it's the highlight of their week, and it's the only real interaction with other people they have, gone. We've had people over 70 imprisoned in their homes. We've had people having to die alone because we won't let relatives visit them. This is monstrous, David, absolutely monstrous. And this is the result of these lockdowns. And what is particularly worrying and alarming about all of this is the number of medical professionals and scientific professionals who are disagreeing with the narrative of the government, but they are being silenced, deliberately silenced, losing their website, losing their jobs in some cases, losing their social media pages, absolutely silenced. Why? Why aren't you listening? If they have another point of view, if they have another idea that is alternative to another disastrous lockdown, listen to them. But they're not listening to them. They're silencing them and going gung-ho for lockdown. Deliberate destruction of our society. Deliberate. And it is deliberate because they know what it will do and they're choosing to do it anyway. That's the definition of deliberate. They're bringing down this country. We've got to stop.
It's also a definition of insanity. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Well, the outcome of the first 3-month lockdown was that, it did fall away. But, it's still there. The virus is still there. You see, the virus doesn't go away. The virus doesn't know. But you're right. It is systemic demolition of well, I think not just of the awful thing is, Anne-Marie, this is not a UK demolition. It's a demolition of big chunks of the Western world. I think. I did a stream yesterday or the day before on the Great Barrington Declaration, and look at all those esteemed epidemiologists and scientists and virologists and people who really know their stuff, and that was just dismissed. The media were completely disinterested because it was a different way, because it doesn't involve lockdown and as you say, this planned demolition of small businesses. I mean, I know lots of businesses around my neck of the woods here, and I'll tell you, people that I'm not a particular frequenter of hairdressers for reasons you can well understand, but my wife is. And, I know that hairdressers who are usually, pretty small operations, one woman, one person, they went to a lot of bother. They got all the PP gear in. They were operating with double masks. All of that, trying to just make a few pounds. No. And they've been shut down here, for another month. Anne-Marie, this is a war on actually the working class, isn't it?
Actually, well put. Absolutely well put. My heart breaks for people like this. First of all, they're being told to spend all this money they don't have, because a lot of people with small businesses it's a survival business. They're not making vast amounts of profits. They're managing to pay their bills and raise their kids with this money. That's all. They're not making big profits. So they don't have a lot of spare cash. So they're being told to make all these physical adjustments to their premises. They do it, and then they close down anyway. They just can't seem to win. And who benefits with the complete destruction of small business? Big business. That's who benefits. And who is best mates with most of the politics? This is big business and the political class. They all drink in the same wine bars. This is beyond corrupt. And to phrase it as a war on the working class is actually brilliantly put. I think you've got a very, very good point. Very good point. It is, of course, the poorest who are going to suffer.
Well, it is, because I saw today, I think Amazon just recorded record profits. So, Jeff Bezos, these sort of liberal technocrats, they're making absolutely vast amounts of money. But meanwhile, the hairdressers, the people, I heard about another person running a little ice cream cafe shop. And they put a lot of money into. Again, they probably put their life savings into setting this up, but it's shut. I mean, they were saying to someone else that I know, look, you see that there's 20 tables this time of day. That's full of kids after school, and the kids are in having their ice cream, and that's such as life. It's empty. There's no kids in. The doors are shut, and so as you say, Anne-Marie, the demolition of the United Kingdom economy by this alleged conservative government is abhorrent. Is it any wonder that, did you see the poll today, that Labour actually have gone 5 points ahead of Boris in the polls?
It's like frying pan fire.
Oh, it is.
Are we so lacking in imagination that we've got to start looking elsewhere? Labour are worse than the Tories. Worse. Yeah. So if the Tories are so bad, I think that the most insane thing you can do is look to Labour. We have been living under a Labour-Tory government for 100 years. There's so little difference between them. Even economically now, there's so little difference. There used to be an economic difference at least. Even that's gone now with Rishi Sunak's plan to tax and spend his way out of this crisis. That's not conservatism. What you need to do is stop spending, particularly foreign aid. This is what I would do. And there are many billions of pounds we can save, but let's start with the 14 billion a year that we send abroad to people who hate us. Let's give that to the local councils to use it to reduce business rates. Let's do that. There's an idea. Let's take off small and medium businesses, let them get back to end the lockdowns. This is ridiculous. Protect the vulnerable by all means, end these lockdowns, and let small and medium businesses get back on their feet and give them tax breaks to do so. You can pay for those tax breaks by ending foreign aid. That is just one. I'm not in government. I'm not surrounded by researchers and people with all sorts of experience in this and that. And even I know that is one common sense but very powerful and effective thing we can do to help get this country back on its feet. Now, if I can come up with that without hundreds of researchers and advisors, then surely someone in Downing Street can come up with a few more ideas on top of that. No?
Yeah, but their big idea is that you can't meet with them. They have great brains.
Oh, they do.
And they come up with wizard schemes.
I'm very impressed.
You cannot. The rule of 6, Anne-Marie, don't forget the rule of 6, and make sure you wear your mask and make sure you do all these other anti-human things. Because, there's a huge, you touched on this, Anne-Marie. One of, for me, the most cruel aspects of all of this so-called lockdown is depriving elderly people of the chance to see their grandkids. And maybe those elderly people are approaching, the end of their lives. And you said it right. There's people dying alone. And I can't think of, anything probably worse. If you've got a family, being deprived of seeing your family towards the end of your life is absolutely disgraceful. And yet, that's what's happening. And actually, they want more of it. Because when we go into the tier 4, which, as you say, there's little doubt we're going to do that, that's what's going to happen. More folks will die in bed alone, and that makes me feel nauseous.
It's monstrous. It's monstrous. And it's also monstrous on the families who want to get in to see their mother, their father, whoever, for the last time, and be deprived, to be denied the ability to say goodbye to their parent is utterly, utterly monstrous. And whoever oversees it has no heart, no soul, and I certainly doesn't care about the people of this country. I do not know how they sleep at night, knowing they're inflicting this on people. And just lastly, you mentioned that ice cream parlor. There were two people, there were two parties suffering in this. One is obviously the person who's making their living from the ice cream, but two is the kids. The kids no longer get to go and sit together and have ice cream. and
Right.
kids and enjoy playing together and laughing together and eating ice cream together. You're depriving the children of that. The joy has been sucked out of life. You go out for a drink now, you have to fill in forms to get into the pub. It has just taken the joy, the spontaneity out of, you're not even allowed to talk to the people at the next table. The whole thing, they've sucked all the joy out of life while destroying the economy.
No, they absolutely have, you know, and I mean, I get my final word in this one is the SAGE committee, which consists of the most miserable people under this planet, because they're the doomsters and gloomsters, you know, Patrick Vance, Chris Whitty et al., Professor Neil Ferguson, he of the infamously completely wrong forecast back in March. But they're saying that, as you've seen from that BBC headline, Anne-Marie, that it's 86,000 at least are going to die in this awful second wave, and that's why we just have to basically kind of forget Christmas. So what I say is, never mind stuffing the turkey. I would say SAGE could get stuffed. Get it? Double pun there, actually. I hadn't thought of that till I said that one. They should get stuffed. We don't you agree, Anne-Marie? Just a final thought on this one. Like, it's time for all of us as well, I think, to find a backbone and sort of. And I think probably a lot of the people watching this and yourself, like, you know, we're clear that we're not going to let them get away with this. We're not going to let them suck the joy out of human life, because without that, there is no point in human life.
Yeah, I mean, they are succeeding in it. And, you know, I'm going to sound like a broken record with this, but David, for as long as the same people are sitting in the chairs in our local councils and sitting in the chairs in Parliament, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
You're right, we can't let them get away with this, but the only way of not letting them get away with this is to fight them at the ballot box. That's all. That's it. Broken record, I know, but it's because it's true. No, I agree. My only concern about that, and I completely agree with you, Anne-Marie, my only concern is, you know, that I could see that we could get to the point where, for reasons of fighting COVID, things like no elections.
Yeah. And when you stop having elections, you stop being a democracy, don't you?
Well, if you don't give people a democratic outlet, then what do they have left?
Exactly.
You and I both know. Neither of us need to say the word, but we both know what will happen.
Yeah. And that's why it's vital. It is vital that we don't throttle and we don't let the people having a chance to vote for fresh faces, new parties, new whatever.
Yeah.
We can't deprive people of that, and you know, and so I think there has to always be hope. But listen, Anne-Marie, it's such a pleasure to have you on the stream. I'm sorry about the technical issues at the start, but
it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's the internet and me. We have a destructive relationship. We really do. Yeah. So it's a pleasure as always to talk to you, David. Thanks.
Absolute pleasure. You take care of yourself, and we've got momentous times ahead, Anne-Marie. We've got an election happening somewhere.
I think I heard something about that. Yeah, I think I might have heard something about that, David. I shall be Tuesday night. I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna do a little American night in my house, and I'm going to be sitting, beaten into my screen with my Trump hat, and full of optimism.
I love my MAGA hat on as well. I've got a red one as well, and I think we're going to have a brilliant result.
I think so.
Next, I think all the lies and the fake polls, the fake media, they're going to be so exposed, God willing, next Wednesday morning when we waken up, Anne-Marie, because if there's any hope to be had in this world, it's Donald Trump back in the White House, because he's a leader, as you said, real leader. So looking forward.
Not only is he getting 4 more years, but 4 more years with nothing to lose.
Yes.
This will be Trump at his best, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I think step one, Jack Dorsey needs to go to prison. That's what I think. So, hey, listen, Anne-Marie, absolute pleasure to see you. Thanks very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Real soon. You take care. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being part of this stream. Cheers now. Bye.